Press the button.
With the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Draft Show. Adam and I are back with our Mock the Mock series. Yes, it is draft time. The combine is only 2 weeks away. Free agency is 3 weeks away. So we are right in it. This is when all the mock draft 1.0s come out. We've done ours. So we're now going to start going through some of the pros and see what they picked and see how different they are and see if we think it's right or not. Adam, exciting time in our schedule going through mock drafts and looking at players.
Sorry, you said exciting time in the most depressive way I've ever heard. That was brilliant. Exciting time. Yes, it should be. The season is done. We can park that. No one wants to talk about the Eagles celebrating. Forget that.
We can actually in their own city. I mean, that's quite entertaining.
I mean, that's not really a surprise, is it? We know what Eagles fans are like. So we can move on, and now we can actually look at the fun bit, which is basically the draft and combine and all them things you said, and we can do that, and we can look at. We're going to do Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. We can come out and say all of the things that he's done wrong. Yeah, and obviously we know more. Obviously,
he's probably the number one guy when it comes to draft time and mock drafts. It's the one that most people the go-to one, isn't it? He's one of the first to come out. I know Mel Kiper, Joel Klatt's done his. We'll be looking at some of them, but we'll start off with the person who's most associated with the draft and mock draft. So it's Daniel Jeremiah. So let's you reckon that you can't remember what he's got on it, so this could be interesting.
Well, I can remember now because I'm looking at it on another screen. The only thing I would say, I can only remember the first pick because that's all I'm looking at the moment.
That's all right then. So pick number 1 is in, and it is the Tennessee Titans taking Abdul Carter. He states what we were talking about, that the general manager said that they want to take a generational talent with the first pick. So a lot of people are leaning towards that being Abdul Carter because obviously he's, as he says, plays at a premium position. He's probably the best player in the draft. Probably him or Travis Hunter, you could say, might be a generational talent because he plays both ways. But I think that indicates why, as I said, they've got Will Levis, it says there. So they might just add someone in the free agent market and go for best player available in the draft, which is Abdul Carter. So I understand we spoke about this in ours. I think they do need a quarterback. I think quarterback would be the right pick, but I'm not opposed to taking the best player and looking at free agents for quarterbacks or even trading out of this spot.
Yeah, we were saying, weren't we, that we do feel like Abdul Carter is the best player in the draft. If you forget about positions, this is the best guy, and because of that, that's why it makes sense to be the number 1 pick. So I've got no problem with him being the number 1 pick for this. As you were saying, it does feel that the Titans are in a position where if they don't go for a quarterback, or at least not, when they've got the opportunity to take the best quarterback in the draft, if they don't take that guy, which is probably Cam Ward, but might be Shedeur Sanders if a trade happens. I feel like you probably are best maybe just not even bothering with the quarterback in this particular circumstance and just sticking with Will Levis. I feel like that's the way that they're going to have to go if they do that. And look, I mean, I know that you like a couple of the quarterbacks. I think that you know, there are some that are solid options, but it's a massive drop off from last year, and I think it's going to be a massive drop off compared to what next year is going to bring as well. And so, because of that, it does feel a little bit like kicking the can down the road is the way forward. So why not take the best player available?
Yeah, I think you've got one quarterback who's got a very high ceiling. It's just whether he can get up to that. And then you've got another quarterback which has got quite a high floor. So, you know, his starting block is quite good already, but can he get up to the heights? So it's deciding which one of those you want to take. And then everyone else after that's a bit of a punt. So, yeah, not like the franchise face of a team quarterbacks like we had last year. Pick number 2 is Travis Hunter, another defender. We have heard that he is going to try out at the combine as a cornerback now. It says quarterback is in play here for the Browns, but in this scenario, they pick Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner. There's a lot of people saying that Shedeur Sanders might not go here. It might be one of the teams he says no, but they've met and they've discussed and apparently quite high on him. So this mock, obviously done before that, things will change a lot going forward. I think they've got free agency. Is Newsome up for free agency at cornerback? So that might be the reason why they might go for a cornerback, and they could do with another wide receiver. I know Jerry Jeudy's played well. Cedric Tillman came alive a little bit. Elijah Moore still not got off the ground running yet. Bit of an odd pick, I think, this one. I'm not sure whether it was a definite need for them. How do you feel about this one? Obviously, we said blue chip players, Abdul Carr, Travis Hunter, but is this the right pick for the Browns?
I think what probably would be the right pick would be Abdul Carter for them, but obviously he's gone. So in this situation, it is kind of a case of they do need a quarterback. Deshaun Watson, it looks like he's not going to be playing. You know, that kind of comes across as though he's going to be injured, he's going to be gone. So that's not going to happen. And then once you get past the 25 season, that's the end of it, I think, with Deshaun Watson. You can carry on with Jameis Winston if you wanted to. You could bring in another free agent or someone like that. But it does feel like quarterback is definitely a big need for them. They would have, in this particular mock, they would have the ability to take the top quarterback if they wanted to, if they really liked one of the sort of like the two main guys for this year. If they don't, then I feel like you almost don't have a choice really other than to take Travis Hunter, because as we were saying, he is that kind of blue chip guy where, you know, you have Abdul Carter, you have Travis Hunter. I'm not a massive fan of Travis Hunter when it comes to a lot of the highlights, a lot of the tape I see, he's committing pass interference all the time. But at the same time, I can appreciate the fact that this guy has the ability to basically take up two positions. And that is pretty much unheard of. So because of that, he is someone that you do want on your team. And he's very, very, he's a very good wide receiver and a very good corner, but he could become really special if he sorts out the pass interference stuff. And I think because you've got that, that's why he's worth taking the pick. So although it might not necessarily be their most important need, and I was just having a look at their free agents, and at corner, they've got a couple of corners, but basically it's guys that are sort of more depth pieces than anything else. It's, you know, Newsome's not up from what I can see. So although it's not the most important need for them, it's still a quality player that can help you in multiple positions.
Yeah, he didn't win the Heisman for no reason. You know, you had Ashton Jeanty in second place behind him in the votes, who nearly broke Sanders' record for running. So, you know, extremely good talent. And like you say, he's an absolute ball hawk when it comes to playing at cornerback. Yes, he's got some problems with pass interference. And I think he's underrated as a wide receiver. I think if you were looking at him, he's not far behind McMillan, I think, for who's the best wide receiver in this. I think McMillan is the best. And he's a close second in there. So you get an absolute superstar. So we get our first quarterback off of the board with the New York Giants. They take Cam Ward. The Giants are desperate for a quarterback. Ward's strong arm and playmaking ability would be a great fit. I'm a Giants fan. Obviously, we all know that. I've seen a lot of stuff out there saying that their guy is Shedeur Sanders, that's the one they want over Ward. So it surprised me that Jeremiah's gone for Ward over him. But it's definitely going to be a quarterback. That's right. Daboll and Schoen's jobs are on the line now. They've got one more year to prove it. They need to get their quarterback, which they've never had. So whether it's Cam Ward or Shedeur, that's fine by me. Either one you put in there is the correct pick.
Yeah, absolutely. They need a quarterback. It makes sense. I think specifically for the Giants, they have to go for it this year, which, given the position that they find themselves with the head coach and the general manager, I think it's like they've been kept on, and probably part of that conversation was we haven't had the opportunity to draft our guy at quarterback. So I think that they've kind of put themselves into a bit of a corner here where they have to do that. And so, yeah, I mean, just whichever one they prefer is the way forward. If it is Cam Ward, then great. If it's Shedeur Sanders, then great again for the Giants, and it kind of works for them to at least have the ability to draft their guy and go for it a little bit. I just feel it's unfortunate in a way for the Giants that it's happened in a down year at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and there's not many free agents out there either that you can bring in either.
Well, you can have Aaron Rodgers if you like. I mean, he's available now. So
yeah, I mean, that's not quite what I was thinking. I think when you look at the Giants and you look at their team and when you talk about drafting players, they've got a stud edge rusher in Brian Burns. They've got a stud left tackle in Andrew Thomas. They've got an absolute superstar at wide receiver in Malik Nabers. So if you've got those three positions ticked, when you're looking at draft, quarterback is where you've got to go. I know there's other holes, but you've got to fill those key positions first, and all of the others are done. So I'm down with that. The New England Patriots at pick number 4, taking Will Campbell. The Patriots must help Drake May on their offensive line. I see Campbell as a safe, steady player who is still improving. He's only ever played at tackle. Played right tackle, then left tackle, and he's played at an SEC school to a very high level at that to show that could be the best in this draft. I find it odd that the Patriots go tackle here. We've said heavily we think they've got a lot of cap space. They throw a lot of money at free agents for O-line, because their O-line is not great, but it's got some pieces on it. So you can just go out and go ham and cap space on that. I think they're desperate for a wide receiver. And they could take, with Travis Hunter gone, they could take Tetairoa McMillan here, which I think would be a better option for them to help Drake May than Will Campbell would be. Although Will Campbell is going to be great at wherever you put him, whether it's tackle or guard or wherever. He's going to be good. We know he's going to be a safe bet, but they can address that. Yeah,
so I think that the player's great. Obviously, that's not an issue here. With the Patriots, it feels very much that it's the situation that the Bengals found themselves in, where it's a case of, do you go O-line to protect Drake May? Do you go wide receiver to help him? So it's very much a case of, where do you go with it? Obviously, free agency is going to play a massive part when it comes to the Patriots and what they decide to do. And there are quite a few O-line guys that are available that are decent O-line guys as well in this year's free agency class. So it does feel like that's something they could do. But I would argue they probably need, I think on the O-line, they need at least 3 starters on the O-line, I would say. And I think that probably tells you how much of an issue it was for them. So I can understand why Will Campbell's been picked. I just feel like a little bit like you. I think that McMillan would probably be a smarter move, purely because not only is there a lack of real top quality wide receivers in free agency, there's also a lack of real top quality wide receivers in this draft as well. And so it kind of feels like anyone who needs one this year needs to get it done, whether that be spend a lot of money on it or get it early in the draft. I think the argument's going to be that they really want T. Higgins and they're going to throw as much money as possible at him. But I still feel like you know, T. Higgins has had injury issues over his career, and whether you really want to go down that route, I'm not sure when you could get a really decent wide receiver quite early in this draft.
Yeah, I think if you've got the option to go McMillan, who people are comp him to Mike Evans a lot. You've got rookie deal for 5 years or 4 years when they start saying I want to be signed to a bigger contract, but you're going to pay T. Higgins a lot of money, I think, to get there. You're going to overpay to get him there, and McMillan could be better. Yeah. So, Higgins has only proved that he can be the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL. He's not proved that he can be a wide receiver 1 yet. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Understand the pick. Not sure it's the right move for them.
I get the theory. The theory makes sense. But, yeah, I agree with you.
Pick number 5 is Jacksonville Jaguars. They've gone Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Graham is one of their cleaner evaluations in the draft. He provides unbelievable quickness, balance, and instinct. A lot of people, we said Abdul Carter is the best player in this draft. I think that's mainly because he's an edge rusher. It's a premium position. Yep. There's an argument to be made that Mason Graham could be the best talent in the draft too. He's a massive disruptor. He was a big part of that championship team from Michigan, and he is fantastic. So another guy like Will Campbell, I don't think he's going to miss with this pick. But Jacksonville Jaguars, again, is this the right move for them? Do they need help on the interior, or is there another position of need for them?
I think the interior probably does need a little bit of help, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily the main thing. I think O-line is something that they could really do with, but obviously, you've just seen Will Campbell go, so maybe that's enough in order to put you off of that. But there are still some really good O-line guys, and we've said before, corner is an issue as well, where it feels like they've got a decent corner in Campbell, but once you get past that, there's not really much else on that roster. So to me, it kind of feels like someone like Will Johnson would have been the way forward for them at corner. That could have really helped them and made an impact as well on their defense. But I do think D-line is somewhere you could go, and maybe the theory behind this is that as much as Will Johnson comes across as a really good corner, he's going to be really good in the NFL. Mason Graham could be special. And I think that's where I kind of understand why they've gone for the pick, because I do think that D-line in general is also something that they need a bit of help with. They just, defensively, they struggled this year.
Yeah, it might be a case of it doesn't say it there, but it might be a case of best player available here.
Yeah.
And he could.
Well, I think maybe best defensive player available.
Yes. Yeah. Pick number 6 is the Las Vegas Raiders. They take Shedeur Sanders. Tom Brady, now a partner in the Raiders ownership, is someone who would appreciate Sanders' toughness, accuracy, and decision-making. A lot of people like this pick. I don't know whether it's been mocked a lot that he drops to 6 and goes to the Raiders. They need a quarterback, and if he's available at this pick, I would not be opposed to them taking him. I don't think he will be available. I think the two will go within the first 5 picks. I would have thought, even if someone moves up for one of them, maybe it's the Raiders that move up for him. But yeah, outside of that, I think we're just speculating that if they're gone, it'll be a different pick. But if he's there, it's the correct pick, I think.
Yeah, I think the Raiders, the three picks, the first three picks are going to have to be quarterback, wide receiver, running back, in whichever order they decide to go for it. I think that's what they probably need to look at. Now, the only reason that changes is if something happens in free agency. But I think for now, I can completely understand why, with Sanders still on the board, you need a quarterback. You're not going to be able to do anything if you don't have a quality quarterback. Very accurate quarterback, and probably something they haven't had in quite a long time, really. So I can understand why that would be the case. But it does mean they need to invest in that O-line a bit in order to help him out. I think that's something that they're going to have to do. But he does have the potential to be able to become something really big in the NFL. So I think for that reason, it's a good idea, and I can understand why it's been chosen for them, because realistically, I know like both of us we quite like the look of Jackson Dart, but I would argue, although I'm not Sanders' biggest fan, I think once you get past Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, there is a pretty big drop off, and there's a possibility that some of these other quarterbacks might be able to do something, but it feels like the first two are the ones that could become starters in the NFL. So I think it makes sense for them to pick Sanders here, and they'd still be able to go and get themselves a wide receiver and running back later on day two.
It's just one of those situations where if you're here and he's available and you don't take him and he goes somewhere else and he's good, you'll forever kick yourself and be trying to play catch up again for the next time that you're not going to make this mistake. We've seen people do it before. They pass on a guy, he turns out to be good, and the media just talks about that for the next 5 years. So they've got to take the risk if he's still there. So yeah. Pick number 7 is the New York Jets, taking Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. Warren is one of my favorite players in this draft. He will be popular with his quarterback and running backs as a difference maker in line tight end. I'm not sure whether this is a bit high to be taking Warren. I know that he's going to be good in the NFL. I know that his skill set and the way they used him in Penn State was great. I don't think he's Brock Bowers. I think people are getting a bit hyped on him because he was used in a similar way as Brock Bowers was at Georgia. So people are now getting on maybe he could be the next version of him. But he only had that one great year of excellent productivity where they moved him all around him, used him everywhere. I think when you've got Tetairoa McMillan still on the board, that's a better talent weapon to go for, I think, at 7. But equally, the Jets do need a tight end. They do struggle at tight end, and then they've got Garrett Wilson and they've got Breece Hall. So I don't mind the choice, but I think people are getting a bit too hyped taking him at 7. But I do think he's going to be good in the NFL.
Yeah, I get the. They do need a tight end, so I understand the logic of that. And it would be an improvement compared to what they have as well. So I do get the theory behind this of taking a tight end. Obviously, they need a quarterback now, but that isn't available at the moment, or it is, but not. You'd feel like they wouldn't go for one here now with the top 2 going. I'm a little surprised they haven't. I kind of felt like corner. I know Reed is a free agent, isn't he, this year? So that's one where it feels like corner is a kind of important one. Again, I believe like Will Johnson's still available. So I'm surprised that he hasn't gone for something like that. Malachi Starks wouldn't be the worst one here for them either in safety. I mean, it's a bit early for him, I would say, but it's not a shocking choice to go for. And as you say, McMillan again is another one who would kind of work there, where yes, you have got Garrett Wilson, but you know Devontae Adams is going, and I would be surprised if Alan Lazard is there, and there isn't really any other options for them of any note. So it feels like a wide receiver would be useful. And maybe the theory behind it is that we will have like a Brock Bowers situation, and we'll sort of like use our tight end as our sort of like hybrid wide receiver to a certain extent. But I don't know. It feels like, considering the tight end class is deep this year,
Yeah, it's good.
you could go and get one later on, and you could have your wide receiver as well here. So I feel like McMillan would make a lot of sense, but I kind of get the theory of that they're improving in a position on the offense.
Pick number 8 is the Carolina. Finally, we've mentioned him a few times. He's off the board. Carolina Panthers take Tetairoa McMillan. The Panthers continue to build around Bryce Young with a big, rangy, and athletic receiver in McMillan. He will be a red zone menace. Yeah, I do think they do need to build and get some more weapons for him. I do think, what did they have? Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette both look good at the back end of last year. So they have got some nice pieces. I do worry that maybe their defense isn't that strong, but we've already had some big names come off the board in terms of defense. I know we didn't in our mock. So maybe this is the right move. I think there's never any harm in. Bryce Young was good down the stretch, wasn't he? He impressed enough to keep his job. So getting more weapons for him wouldn't be a bad thing. I just do worry that you'll be in a situation where they're just trying to outscore teams because their defense it just isn't strong enough, and that could be an area that they need to address. And as I said, Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker both looked good last year.
Yeah, I think it does. It feels like I understand the logic of helping out Bryce Young here, and as we've said before about wide receivers, there's not many sort of like really strong ones in this year's class. I feel like you could go anywhere on the defense, like literally anywhere. I mean, Will Johnson has not gone. I would have him in here. Malachi Starks has not gone. I would have him here. There's a
James Pierce still not gone.
Yeah. There's a plethora of edge rushers. There's plenty of edge rushers where you sort of feel like you could go. You could have James Pierce. You could have Mikael Williams. You could have Mike Green. You could have any of these edge rushers and feel like it would be a good spot for the Carolina Panthers to go. It feels that I get the theory of trying to help the quarterback. I do. But they've got some good, like you say, young wide receivers who might kick on. I don't know if Adam Thielen's going to be around again, but he seems to be a pretty steady wide receiver and has got a good rapport with Bryce Young. You could have him there, and you could have Jalen Coker could improve. Xavier Legette could improve. You can go and get yourself a wide receiver later in the draft. You know, there's a few of these options that you have. I feel like the defense has got a lot of holes and it needs help, and you probably want to bring in someone really good in order to do that.
Yeah, I think defense is where they address. Pick number 9 is the New Orleans Saints, taking Mikael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia. Saints continue to add young athletic players to their defensive front. Williams played hurt all season long, but his tools are exceptional. Yeah, I think tools is a good word to use for Mikael Williams. I think productivity wasn't quite there last year. Daniel Jeremiah says he played hurt all season long, but I don't know. It just, for me, there's better edge rushers still available. I know the upside on the tools on Williams is worth a gamble, but with James Pierce still on the board, who was exceptional. It's the right pick in position. I think that's correct. Whether I think someone's better, Daniel Jeremiah probably knows more than me, but the position is correct where he's gone.
Yeah, I think it is. I think edge is the right spot for him and something they need to address. I think it's really going to be a case of, with these edge rushers, I think it's just going to be a case of what you like the look of and what the specific teams think is more important. And I mean, Mikael Williams is a good edge rusher. As I said previously, Mike Green, really like Mike Green. Think he's going to be really good this in the NFL. You know, you're saying James Pierce. I think James Pierce has. I think if I remember rightly, this year maybe not quite as big a year as it was the previous year, and
maybe not, but he
that's
still
not.
had I think he had a 22% success rate on.
Yeah. He was still good. I mean, he still had a really good year. Just wasn't. You know, it's that thing you want him to build, don't you?
Than Carter. So, you know, although
Yeah.
Carter's incredible, you know, we're talking about a guy that's not far behind him.
No.
He's a true edge rusher. I know Abdul Carter can do a bit of everything, but I think, you know, that's kind of where
I wonder if James Pierce is going to drop down boards a little, not far, but just drop down maybe a couple of spots on the edge rusher list just purely because of that. But I think he's a really good edge rusher and one that any team will be really happy to get. You know, Shamar Stewart had an amazing Senior Bowl, and a lot of people are talking about him as well, and that they want him to go. They think he's going to go really high. There's quite a lot of teams that need edge rushers and quite a lot of good edge rushers here. So it really is about what flavour you like, really. So, yeah, he's a good pick. It's the right place.
Pick number 10, the Chicago Bears, taking Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama. I think Booker is one of the safest picks in the draft. He will help firm up the interior offensive line with Caleb Williams. We've said all along they need a guard. Guard is where they need to go. You've heard me bang on about Tyler Booker, about him being stand out the best guard in this draft. I know they're on about moving some of the guys that play tackle to guard some of the big guys that will have success, but as a true guard, he's the best guard in the draft, and they do need that. 10 might be, is 10 too high for Booker? Possibly. Could you take an Ahmed Membu instead and get something different? Yes. But again, it's the right position for what the Bears need. They missed out last year and they went Rome Odunze instead of a guard, and look how bad it's turned out for them. Although Rome Odunze is going to be great, they need to correct that wrong this year.
Yeah, absolutely. They desperately need to sort their O-line out. It's the biggest weakness on that team. It's been like that for a couple of years now. It felt like last year and the back end of the season before, they sorted out that defense and they invested in it a little bit, and it looks pretty good. So there's no real desperate need to go on defense. Offense, you've got your 3 wide receivers still. It looks like Keenan Allen might be on his way out, but you've still got 2 really good ones, and you can add an extra one for depth as well if you want. So running back's another option, but you can do it later. And yeah, that's the really important area now. It's about being able to protect Caleb Williams, because he was sacked so many times in this last season, and that really needs sorting out. It really depends where you want to go, but Tyler Booker is... I understand that it might feel a little bit high for Tyler Booker, like you say, but the point is like, you're not going to get many out-and-out guards like Tyler Booker, whereas for a lot of these other O-linemen kind of move around and are in different positions. Tyler Booker, I think, is going to be a very solid O-line guy and will be great for the Bears.
Yeah, he says it right there, doesn't he? Jeremiah saying it's one of the safest picks in the draft. So
yeah.
Safety is good. Oh, well, there's a guy we just mentioned. Membu goes to San Francisco 49ers, the tackle, or as he's listed on there, the interior lineman from Missouri. Membu is the most technically sound offensive lineman in the class. He reminds me of Elijah Vera Tucker. When he entered the league, Membu will be an exceptional guard who can also play tackle if needed. One of your favorite guys that you've watched a lot of tape on, absolute beast. I was very high on him as well. We went O-line for the 49ers. I've seen a lot of other people go in D-line for the 49ers, but I think they need to address it. It's getting old, that O-line. Now, this might be a good pick. I think Calvin Banks is still there, and they could do with a soon-to-be replacement left tackle, but no qualms in this pick whatsoever. Again, I think O-line is the right move.
Yeah, I think it is O-line or D-line. I think it's just a matter of which way you want to go for the first round. But yeah, really like Membu. I think he's a really, really good O-line guy from Missouri. And I think he has a bit of versatility about him, which maybe some of the others don't, and he can move around like Daniel Jeremiah says. He can play guard, he can play tackle. I think he's going to do really well in the NFL. And the 49ers, this is the benefit of having a bad season, I suppose, that you can go out and get someone like this. So yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think there are other guys. I know what you mean about Calvin Banks. I think Calvin Banks is maybe a bit more solid, whereas I think Membu has, or I think Calvin Banks has a better floor, but I think Membu has a higher ceiling and could really be something special in this league. So I can understand why you would want to take the punt on him over someone like Banks.
Pick number 12 is Dallas Cowboys, taking Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State. I don't even need to read the little blurb from them. Everybody, if Jeanty's available at this pick, everybody bar you has got Jeanty going here. I think in our mock we'd already got him going to Raiders, which is maybe why you went O-line here. But if he's available, Cowboys are definitely taking him. I think that this is one that probably people have got a lot of money on already early doors.
Yeah, I mean, if he's there, then they would be crazy not to, considering the fact that they just didn't address the position at all last year, and it was one of their biggest weaknesses for not doing it. So it's a real problem for them. So yeah, it's kind of an obvious one and makes complete sense. So yeah, as long as he's there, then go for it. But
you can't.
I'm not sure he'll be there at 12.
Nah, maybe not. You can't keep being haunted by everyone telling you should have got Derrick Henry and you didn't. Here's my guy. It's finally out there. Miami Dolphins taking Calvin Banks Jr. It's not dropped too far. Protecting Tua. This is what you told me when you were banging on about on our mock draft. I said no. They've got too many people leaving on defense. You know, their whole secondary is about going. A lot of linebackers are also going. I do think they need to address the defense, but again, if there's a lot of people still on the board, if it's safety, they could get a good safety in round 2. So protecting Tua, understandable, and at the value you're getting, Banks, got no qualms with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most important thing with Tua. I think you just have to protect him and all the problems that you've experienced with him over the last few seasons. There's not really anything else you can do. I agree. The defense does need help. There is, especially in the secondary, it does need a lot of help. And there are guys out there that you could put in. But I just think that you're in this position where it's almost like, because you've invested into it now, you have to just keep investing in that, and you don't have much choice. It's almost like the first round pick is going to be constantly helping Tua and investing in that, I think, now, because if you start bringing in sort of so-called weaker players, it's just going to end in a nightmare.
Yeah, it's one concussion away from retirement, I reckon. So hopefully keep away from that. Pick number 14, the Indianapolis Colts, taking Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, the thought best corner in college award last year. A lot of buzz around him. Continues to grow. I think he's fantastic. I think he's great. I had him as my second true cornerback off the board, because there's still a guy not gone yet. Will Johnson is still on the board, and I don't think Will Johnson's getting to 14. So the fact that Jahdae Barron's gone before him shocks me a little bit, but you know, he didn't win that award for nothing. He is a great talent. I can see the Colts taking they need secondary help if that's where they're going to go on the defense.
Yeah, I've got no problem with taking a corner. I think it is very much corner safety. They're the options that you need to go for the help there. You could go Malachi Starks, as you said. Will Johnson is still available. I mean, if you're going corner, I would have thought most people would go Will Johnson here. That kind of just feels like more sense to me. So I'm not quite sure why he's gone for Barron in that respect, but I think the position's right. I think the guy's probably wrong, and given that Tyler Warren is gone, I don't know if you would take Colston Loveland this high. So I think maybe that's why they've not gone for tight end. So yeah, I think corner and safety are the two real issues for them, and I think he's got the right position, just the wrong
guy. Next pick, well, there he is. He's gone the next pick afterwards, and they might be kicking themselves by that. So Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, goes to the Atlanta Falcons with pick 15. Johnson is a polarizing player around the league. He provides size and production, but some questions emerge around his tackling, his top speed. I mean, I've got no questions for him. The guys that he's shut down and what he's done over the last couple of years at Michigan's been phenomenal. I know he took a few injuries towards the back end of the season, which might be a concern, but yeah, I'm shocked that he's gone there. Also, I thought Falcons needed edge, and still some edge rushers on there, but equally taking Johnson at this point. I thought they were right with AJ Terrell in the backfield as well, but I thought edge might be where they go here, and there's still good edge rushers available to choose from.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, corner, I suppose, looking at it, you've got 2, 3, 4. You got 4 corners as free agents this year on that team. So I can understand a little bit why they've gone corner. I think if Will Johnson's there, great pick. So I can understand it. However, the one thing that we have been going on about for ages, all of last year's up, for the draft, was they need an edge rusher. They need an edge rusher. And I know they brought in Matthew Judon, but they still need an edge rusher. And we saw that this season, that it didn't really work for them in that respect. You've got plenty of edge rushers still available. James Pierce would be great at this pick. That would be an excellent choice for him. And there's loads more that you could go for around pick 15. So I think, although they've got quite a few free agents at corner, and Will Johnson is a very, very good corner, I just feel like edge is a more pressing matter for them at the moment. So I'm surprised that he's gone with corner.
Is AJ Terrell one of the free agents? Is he?
No.
Well, you're bringing back your best corner. So you're looking for a cornerback too, which I think you could get in the next round, like a Maxwell Harrison or a Denzel Burke or something like that to play on the other side of AJ Terrell. So yeah, definitely edge rusher for me at that point, if that's the case. Pick 16 is the Arizona Cardinals taking Jalen Walker, the linebacker / edge rusher from Georgia. Walker is a bit undersized as an edge rusher, but he offers an intriguing mix of length, explosiveness, and playmaking ability. I think this is an area of need that the Cardinals need to address. That's kind of almost ticks. It suits them. I don't think this is the right player at this value, but it probably suits them a lot because I think they need linebacker and edge help. I think they need both of those to help them. So this might be the right guy for them. I just don't think he's as good as some people left on the board.
Yeah, Jalen Walker is a really difficult one because he's not an edge rusher. And he is more of a linebacker. And it kind of feels a little bit like it's difficult because I feel like they've got quite a few needs. Really, O-line, they need some help on O-line. D-line, I think they need some help. Edge, they need some help. And he's not any of them. And that's the thing. It just kind of feels a little bit like you've got a lot of needs and he's not really filling any of them. And I get that linebacker, you could argue that they do need a bit of help there, and that's fair enough. Yeah, I'm not particularly sold on him that much. I think as a linebacker, he's going to be very good, but I'm not sure that's the most important position that you need someone, certainly for a Cardinals team at the moment, that has got quite a few gaps on it.
Yeah, we've already spoke about the number of edge rushers, and when we spoke about it about 5 or 6 picks ago, all of those names are still on the board.
Yeah.
So you'd be silly to turn one of them down. When I don't think, if you were to rank the edge rushers solely, I think Jalen Walker's coming in towards the back end of the top 10 rather than the top end, and we've still got those names. And linebacker wise, there's another linebacker in college that was maybe a better true linebacker. So is he even the best linebacker you're getting? Maybe not. So yeah, I understand that it would be the query there. They got a lot of holes there. Pick 17, the Cincinnati Bengals taking Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Mississippi. Nolan is a dynamic interior disruptor. He would be a key part of turnaround under new Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden. In our mock draft, I addressed them on the D line. I went with edge. Walter Nolan wasn't available for us at this point in our mock draft, but definitely a dynamic player, definitely a disruptor. He's bang on with that. Was very productive at Ole Miss this year, so no issues with this pick because I think anywhere they want to pick on defense, they need help. So no issues with this pick. Great talent.
Yeah, really like it. I've actually just done the D-line tape, and Walter Nolan looks really, really good. Great against the run, pretty good against the pass as well. And yeah, he's going to be ideal for them on a team that's defense has just kind of fell apart a bit last year. It sort of picked up towards the end, but it really wasn't very good. So I've got no problem with this. The only thing I would say regarding it, I know you say edge is an issue. If T. Higgins isn't here, if he's gone and, to the Patriots or whatever, and they need a wide receiver, I feel like they have to do it here to get a proper, really good one. Unless they can get someone in free agency, I feel like they need to get in a really good one here. I feel like someone like Emeka Egbuka would be ideal for them as he was so different to Ja'Marr Chase, and I think that would be ideal for them. But I get this pick; it needs doing.
I think when you've got arguably top 3, maybe the top 1 wide receiver in the NFL, you're saying I've ticked that box of wide receiver, and I can build more wide receivers in later. I think when I haven't got a true number 1, then maybe round 1 is where you go for it. So
possibly, I just kind of feel like if you get rid of T. Higgins and you bring in someone, I mean, maybe you could get someone in round 2, but we are saying, aren't we, with this wide receiver class, it's not as good, and so it just kind of feels a little bit like, I know you can get guys. But
I'm saying it's not as good as in if you need a true wide receiver 1, then you've got to get it early and you've got to get it in round 1. But if you're not, then there's plenty of guys. We've got a top 10 of wide receivers, and lots of them are going to go in round 2. So it only needs one of them to be the correct one, and it popped, and you've complemented Ja'Marr Chase well.
Yeah, no, it's true, and like I say, D-line is that was something they desperately need as well. It's not a bad pick. I like it as a pick. I'm just saying it's like
Joe Burrow could continue to throw the ball to Ja'Marr Chase all game long, and win games. But if that defense doesn't sort itself out, they're going to be in the same situation they were this year, where they've got the leading quarterback, the leading wide receiver, and losing games.
Yeah.
Pick 18, the Seattle Seahawks taking Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan. That's all the Michigan players just about off the board now. Grant, who would be part of a great interior trio with Leonard Williams, but I don't think they need interior. You've just listed it there. You've answered your own question. You've got Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy already. Edge rusher, again, you could maybe get someone a bit further out from them. I think they're okay at corner. I think that's fine. And O-line, everyone could always do with strength at O-line. So I think it's edge or O-line here. Don't think you need someone else with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy.
Yeah, I think definitely O-line is an area of need for them. It does kind of feel like the real top ones have gone, but there are still some good O-line guys out there. Josh Connolly is still out there. He's someone that you could go for. Josh Simmons, again, is another one that you could go for. So there are guys out there that you could pick up. I think, like you say, edge, we've been through them all. There's still a load of them out there. So edge makes sense as well. I mean, look, Kenneth Grant, I think, as he said, it would be a great interior trio if you had the three of them there. So, I mean, in that respect, it's not a bad idea. And the depth is heading to free agency. So I kind of see the point of that, and I get where he's coming from. I think that maybe edge is slightly more important for him. And as you say, they've still got two great guys there. So,
pick 19 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Jair Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. They rave about Campbell's leadership and versatility at Alabama. He's a unique player because of his size and length as an off-the-ball linebacker, with Levante David and KJ Britt tick for free agency. We said this, that it's going to have to be, we said front seven, didn't we, for them? I think there was decent edge rushers. We said this is where the edge rusher is really going to get hit in the draft. But as I said, Jair Campbell, arguably the best linebacker in the draft, is a very, very good talent. Yes, they're losing a lot of players at that position in free agency. So they do need to address somewhat of that front seven. So I think, I don't know how many times we need to say it, still edge rushers on the board.
Yeah, they do need linebacker help. I do understand that, but I would be shocked if they don't go edge. Like, properly shocked if the Bucs don't go edge, especially if these guys are here still. Which, I would expect them to still be here. Some of them this time. You're going to have one or two of them here. So I would be very surprised if the Bucs didn't go edge. Campbell looks like a really good linebacker. I think he'll do well in the NFL, and it is a need, but I just think it's the wrong one to be focusing on for the first round.
Yeah, we had, when we were talking about in our mock draft, we said that Campbell was too early to take over some of the talent that was still there on the board, despite the fact he's best in his position. Just linebacker just isn't a difference-making position.
No.
When you're trying to build a team for a run to the Super Bowl. So I think that's why it's been shunned away from the NFL and drafts a little bit and pushed down. Pick number 20 is the Denver Broncos, taking Nick Manoware, the safety from South Carolina. Manoware gave some Derwin James vibes when I studied him. I love his instincts and his production. I think he's a great safety. I think he's really good. I think he's a very good second round safety to pick up. I think Malachi Starks for me was the only one I had a round one mark on. Equally, this guy is very, very talented. Is safety where the Broncos need to address?
I think there's
one wide receiver go off the board.
Yeah, I think there's probably more pressing issues, I would say. I think wide receiver makes a lot of sense. I think tight end makes a lot of sense. This is somewhere where you probably could take Colston Loveland. They haven't got many issues at safe. I mean, the defense was pretty good last year.
They got a safety. Is it Locke and King?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And neither of them are free agents. Okay. So, yeah. And again, if you wanted safety, I'd probably say, why are you not taking Malachi Starks there? So that feels a little bit strange as well. Not really with this pick, I have to say. Think that
a lot of people have got Colston Loveland in at this pick, haven't they? A lot of people.
Yeah, I think wide receiver or tight end. Yeah. Even if you decide to stick with Courtland Sutton, then someone like Emeka Egbuka would be good as someone different at wide receiver. yeah, Colston Loveland would be really good. Yeah, I feel like more offensive weapons for Bo Nix is the way forward rather than looking at safety. It's not. I mean, I think it's a need, but not a first round need.
Slightly off draft topic, but Taysom Hill going to get cut from the Saints, too expensive. Could we see Taysom Hill going to the Broncos?
Wouldn't be a surprise, obviously, given the connection with Sean Payton. So you could see that happening, and obviously he brings in, you know, different versatility, doesn't he? So it kind of makes sense.
Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 21 taking Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, the guy that down that stretch of the season and the playoffs really lit up and became the number one go-to guy over Isaiah Bond in that Texas for Quinn Ewers. I don't think the Steelers could go wrong with drafting Golden or Ohio State's Emeka Egbuka here. They go with Golden in this case, but they are both professional route runners with outstanding hands and toughness. I like Golden. I think he's great. And anybody who did watch at the back end of the college season would be very high on Golden. But when you go and watch what Emeka Egbuka and Luther Burden have both done in their whole time in college, I can't see you going for Golden over one of those two. I think he's just maybe watched some tape and maybe not all of the career, maybe, I don't know. But Steelers do need a wide receiver. They've got George Pickens, who's been hot and cold. When he's hot, he's great, but he goes disappearing throughout the season. So I think this is the right move for them. They need the help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think wide receiver makes it. I think quarterback might be an issue, but they might sort that out in free agency. Who knows? But yeah, I think wide receiver at this pick. Sorry. Yeah, well, they could. So the rumor is that they do want to bring one of them back, of Wilson or Fields. That's the hope that gets done.
Wow.
So
Arthur Smith doesn't like Russell Wilson. They had big arguments because
he's also going to cost a lot more money as well.
Well, he kept going to the line apparently and audible out of runs to throw the ball. So I can't see Arthur Smith wanting him back.
So yeah. So we'll have to see. I mean, it does feel like the logical thing for them to do would be to bring Justin Fields back and sort of like and develop him and keep going there. So I think that's probably what they will do. Could do with a bit of help at corner. It seems to be a bit of an issue for them. Always has been for the last few years. We've always said corner, but I think wide receiver is a more pressing matter. I would prefer Egbuka. I would prefer Burden over Matthew Golden, but he had a very good season this year, so I can understand why there is hype amongst him. So, right position, wrong guy.
Mm-hmm. Pick number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers taking Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan. The Chargers need to give Justin Herbert more firepower. The coaching staff will be extremely familiar with Loveland. Yes, Harbaugh had Loveland in his team when he was at Michigan. I can see this being the pick, or I can see it being Amarian Hampton. I can see it being tight end or running back. If Loveland's available, then Harbaugh might like him because it's his guy and is an extremely talented, pure tight end.
Yeah, it's going to be the Chargers and Broncos are kind of in the same spot, and there's not much space between them here. They both need a wide receiver, both need a tight end, both need a running back. So I think both of these teams, it'd be quite interesting to see what they do and whether they end up kind of sniping each other to a certain extent. But yeah, it's not a shocker. Colston Loveland, Michigan, and Harbaugh. Not really a surprise, this one. So it kind of all makes sense that this would be where they would go. Love playing with tight ends and big tight ends that really help them out in the offensive game as well. And so, yeah, I think there's the tight end class is good this year, but there's 2 first rounders, and that's Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, and there isn't. The rest of them will be like 2nd, 3rd round, I think. And
well, before the season started, I only had Loveland as a
so
round 1, but Warren had a good season. But
I think it's a good pick. Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers, pick number 23, 3, taking Sherman Stewart, the edge from Texas A&M. Packers love front 7 players from SEC with outstanding traits. Stewart fits the mold. Yeah, traits. I think he's got outstanding traits. Productivity for me wasn't there. I don't think he got enough sacks over his time at Texas A&M. I think there's better options still available at that position. But you as a Packers fan, this is probably, I think cornerback is where you need to go, but D-line, O-line, that's just what you do.
Pretty much, yeah. Corner is an issue, edge is an issue, wide receiver 1 is an issue. So based on that, yes, I completely understand. I get why they'd go for him. There's something that I need to look at with the Texas A&M D-line, and I was looking at it when I can't remember who it was. Who's the interior D-line guy that's come out for Texas A&M?
Well, they've got Nick Scornton and Sherman Stewart both off the edge coming.
Yeah, it was the interior guy. I was watching him last night, and it was funny that when you look at the production numbers, it dropped. And what was really strange is it dropped. So did Shamar Stewart's one. It's another Shamar, isn't it?
Just gonna have a quick look.
Turner. Shamar Turner. Yeah. And all 3 of them production has dropped. And you sort of think, oh, that's a bit weird that the 2 edge rushers and the D-line guy, all 3 dropped in the same, but they were all much higher the year before. So it's something that I'll have to have a little look at. But he had a really good Senior Bowl.
He had a fantastic Senior Bowl. I think
a lot of people are expecting him to have a really good combine, and I think that's probably, Packers have just this constant desire to have certain traits, as it says, and yeah, I get why he's gone there. I do agree with you, corner's an option, but given who's there and the people that are there, I think, yeah, I can get why they've gone with him.
Pick number 24, the Minnesota Vikings. Finally, Malachi Starks is off the board, safety for Georgia. Starks didn't make as many plays as were accustomed to seeing him from 2024. Well, that's because Georgia were just terrible in 2024, I think, more so than anything. But yeah, best safety in the draft. Is safety where the Vikings need to go? I'm happy with them addressing defense. I've got no issues with that. You think it's more front 7 than defensive backs?
Yeah, I think so. I think edge is an issue for them. I think D-line is somewhere that they need to look at. I mean, well, actually, do you know what? Edge isn't too bad thinking about it, but D-line definitely in interior, I think, is somewhere they need to go. And then O-line, running back, there's a few other areas. I wouldn't say safety is a particularly desperate need for them. Corner is another spot which I think they could do with some depth at. But I will concede that Malachi Starks is probably the best player on the board at the moment. So I can understand why they've gone for that. I don't know. I don't think. I feel like O-line really. You got Josh Connolly still out there. Josh Simmons is still out there. Well, interior, you could go for someone like TJ Sanders is still out there. So
I think once they lost Darashaw, it showed that they weren't the same team. So strengthening that O-line would make sense, and getting depth of that O-line would be good. Pick number 25 is the Houston Texans, taking Luther Burden III, the wide receiver from Missouri. Texas are in the market for a new offensive coordinator, but they could use more help at the receiver. Yeah, Diggs is gone. This guy's an absolute yak machine. You get him the ball and he's just gone. He's lightning. He's great. I think that complements Nico Collins very, very well. I think this is a good pick. I think he's got that sort of Zay Flowers sort of ability to, once you've got him the ball. So no issues with that. Just like the fact of them having Emeka Egbuka to pair back up with CJ Stroud. And we both think Burden will be gone before this pick. So I think Egbuka here, but yeah, wide receivers, the right pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think wide receiver definitely makes sense. I would be stunned whether Burden was here or not if CJ Stroud doesn't have a bit of the old chat in the ear of the GM saying, "Can we have my mate?"
Yeah.
I can't see if Egbuka is still available at 25, he will not be available at 26. Let's put it that way.
He's
So
got the potential to be better than JSN. So why
yeah,
would you not take him? He's a great
yeah,
route runner. Pick number 26, the Los Angeles Rams taking Josh Connolly Jr., the offensive tackle from Oregon. We had the Rams taking O-line. We had them taking a tackle, and we had it. It was Simmons, I think we've got going there instead. So again, it's I think they're what they need to do, protect. I think they keep Stafford, so protect Stafford. They've got O-line players that might be moving on or getting older, or they need to pay. So just keep turning over that O-line, make it better, and Kyron Williams will benefit from it as well.
yeah, definitely. O-line is what needs the help. As you said, it's all about protecting Matthew Stafford, and Josh Connolly has had a really good season at Oregon and has looked good for a couple of seasons actually at Oregon, and I think that he's definitely worth the first round pick. We went Josh Timmons because we kind of felt like that was better player, so that made more sense. But I get why. I get the back of the first round, someone like Connolly. I think this is an ideal spot. Like it's going to be around here for Connolly. Makes a lot of sense to me. So it's a good pick.
Right position, value for player. Pick 27 is the Baltimore Ravens taking Azari Thomas, the cornerback from Florida State. The Ravens double dipped on drafting big long corners after selecting Nate Wiggins last year. Thomas is smooth and fluid. I don't think they need cornerback. I don't think they need secondary. I think the secondary was fine. I think O-line's where they're going to need. I think they're getting old. They got some free agents. They rely heavily on the run game from both their quarterback and their running back. So O-line for me would be where they need to go. Simmons, we've said, is still on the board. And I don't think Thomas is, for me, the next best cornerback on the available either. I think it'd be available in the second round.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a weird pick, this one. I don't quite know why he's gone for that, especially as he even says himself after selecting Nate Wiggins last year. So that's where it's a little bit weird. Ronnie Stanley is going to be a free agent this year, so O-line is very important for them. Simmons is available, so why wouldn't you? Kind of thing. Bit of an odd one, that one.
Pick number 28 is your guy. Detroit Lions taking Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. It will be huge for the Lions to get Aiden Hutchinson back next season. Green would be a perfect complement with his speed and quickness off the edge. Team values productivity off the edge, and Green had a ton of it during his time at college. I want to see more of him. Need to go back to the tape. You're really, really high on him. I've got a few more people higher than him. But sounds like a guy who's been at Marshall, so probably fits with the Lions very well. Probably got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Going to play hard, going to play tough. So I can see why the Lions would be intrigued and want him.
Yeah, I really like it. It's something they need as well. They need that second edge rusher. They brought in Zadarius Smith. Obviously, he's a free agent now, and he's getting older, so they won't bring him back. But yeah, I really like Mike Green. Think he's going to do really well in the NFL. No, I wouldn't be against Sawyer here. I think that he's someone who could complement Aiden Hutchinson quite well as well. So I think the position's good. I'm not going to say it's the wrong guy because I think for me personally, it is. But I could understand why others would think for different edge rushers.
Yeah.
Admittedly, also Pierce as well is still not gone, so he would be pretty good.
Not sure where he's coming out at. Here's Josh Simmons, though. Washington Commanders taking Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State. Commanders' offensive line has played well above expectation, but it will need to upgrade talent to protect Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I agree they need to protect Jaden Daniels, but I also think they need some help on at wide receiver. I think De'Ami Brown's been rumored to be leaving in free agency as well, or traded or gone. So that leaves him with 29-year-old McLaurin and not a lot else. And Emeka Egbuka's still on the board. We haven't had him go yet. So I didn't think their O-line was that bad. I thought Daniels played well behind their O-line. But equally, Josh Simmons, great talent. Do you think it's what they need over wide receiver?
I think, again, it's a question of which way you want to go. Do you want to go for the wide receiver? Do you want to go for the O-line guy? And it does feel very much like wide receiver is a big need for them this year, and they need to help Terry McLaurin out here. And there is a lack of wide receivers in free agency. That is a problem. So they do need to go for something. I mean, the fact that Egbuka is still here, obviously, I just feel it's a bit unrealistic, to be honest. But if he's there, you would take him. At the same time, if you needed O-line, then you would take Simmons as well. So I understand why he's gone for it, but I would be looking at wide receiver.
Pick number 30, the Buffalo Bills, taking defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon. Another Oregon player gone off the board. People very high. Harmon is a disruptive player at a deep position at this year's class. He could fill a void with Austin Johnson among the Bills' defensive linemen due to free agency. Where did I have Bills going? I can't remember what I had going to the Bills. It's a bit of a... Yeah, I think defense is probably where they need. I think O-line could always...
So we, in our one, we went for Jalen Walker.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that is a position they would need.
Yeah, because linebacker is a position of need. However, I do understand why they want to go D-line. So I'm not against it. I think Harmon has looked good. I think Oregon, he looked good, and it does make a lot of sense that you want to keep improving that D-line. I think this is something that you're probably going to see a little bit with the Bills and the Chiefs after this Super Bowl and what happened to the Chiefs. I think they're going to try and improve D-line, O-line, because the likes of the Eagles just being able to run over, especially the Chiefs. Yeah, it's not a bad pick, I don't think.
Yeah, but they could equally get James Pierce to pair up with.
Yeah, well, there is that as well.
Kansas City Chiefs. Right, we're going to let James Pierce go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Please, come on. Some people see Pierce going earlier in round one, while there might be a debate about where he'll land in the draft. There's no doubt about his elite speed and production. So Jeremiah's going to say how amazing he is and how good he is, and he should go earlier in round one. So how has he landed at 31 with the Chiefs? And we're going to give the Chiefs a blue chip player again at the back end of the first.
Yeah, I think given that he's fallen, you have to take him. So I completely understand why he's picked him for that respect. However, I can't see them not going O-line here after what happened.
Just swap the Commanders and Chiefs picks.
Yeah, I don't see how the Chiefs don't go O-line. It was such a devastating loss in the Super Bowl that it just feels like they've got to go down that route. They've got to protect Mahomes better. So yeah, Pierce is there. Okay, in this little narrative, fair enough. But in reality, I think it's O-line.
Pick number 32, the final pick, is the Philadelphia Eagles taking TJ Sanders, the defensive tackle from South Carolina. There has not been a lot of buzz for Sanders, but I thought his tape was outstanding. He's really twitchy and would fit right in with the defensive lineman in Philly. Odd pick. I think there's better players than Sanders at the position. I think Tyreek Williams might be better at the position. I do think they're going to need to address the fact that they're going to be losing Williams. They're going to be losing Burks. They're going to be losing Sweat potentially. So just keeping more players on that front seven would be sensible. So whoever they pick on that front seven, I don't think they need interior defensive tackle. I think they're fine in the middle with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. So I'd look more outside hybrid linebacker, edge sort of position. I think, is Zach Bourne going to be there next year? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he's a free agent as well.
Yeah. So they're going to need to replace a lot of those guys. So maybe further outside than interior for me.
Yeah, TJ Sanders, I think you're probably right. I think there are slightly better ones you could go for at this point. So, but I did think he looked good. But yeah, I think there are better ones that you could go for. I feel like it makes sense for them to go for the front seven, as you said. It just feels like with them free agents, that seems to be the issue, doesn't it, for them? They're going to need to be able to replace these guys. I mean, Josh Sweat was really, really good in the Super Bowl. Milton Williams was really good in the Super Bowl. Brandon Graham is a free agent as well. So yeah, it does feel like that there needs to be a little bit of help on the D line. And so I'm not against the position in a way. I think I kind of get it, but yeah, maybe some other guys that he could have gone for.
Well, that's Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. It was great to go through it. Really enjoyed divulging into it, seeing who he'd got and who we've got. I love the fact that we did ours first and now we're looking at other people's. Few names missing, a few names that I thought might be on there that weren't there. We didn't see Jack Sawyer, we didn't see Amico. Why are the Ohio State players being shunned from his
Because
draft?
no one likes you. You won and no one likes you.
Well, they've just won a championship and they were dominant on defense and offense. So, shock. But that's number one done. It's in the books. Looking forward to the next one. Like I said, we've probably got Mel Kiper, Joel Klatt, Zerloin probably coming up to have a little look at. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But till then, keep it with the franchise tag and see you again very soon.